Joining us right now on the phone is the man who exposed the Bigfoot hoax, Steve Kulls, private investigator and executive director of Squatchdetective.com.
The numbers of sightings, even if you take 99% of them and put them in the trash can, you turn around, you still have that 1% that can't be explained. Well, we need to explain it.
And then this thing walks across the road, makes a turn towards us.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it.
The whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right on the side of us.
I still see that damn thing to this day. It wasn't 20 feet from me.
You could see it standing from the moonlight in the tree line.
I was just scanning right to left, and it reminded me of like a gorilla.
Get somebody out here. Son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, exploring the Bigfoot mystery each week with your hosts, veteran researcher, author, and TV personality, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, and from the Bigfoot Research Project of Kentucky, Chris Bennett. Sit back and buckle up as we bring you guests from around North America discussing the Bigfoot phenomena, but not without a few laughs, too. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, October 1st, 2023. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, along with my co-host right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett.
Steve, man, it's good to see you.
Hey, it's good seeing you, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. I was worried about you, man, because I seen all this footage from New York City, and they're like getting flooded out and everything. I thought, well, I hope. Of course, I know you don't live right in that vicinity, but
no, we're not getting the rain they're getting.
Wow,
it's an Atlantic Coast clipper.
Yeah,
so yeah. It's not affecting us because we're 150 miles north of New York, 175 miles north of New York City.
The streets in New York City are rivers now in some parts. It was unbelievable.
Unreal. Just amazing. And of course, if you haven't heard, we have our own little events going on near where I live. A lot of people know I lived for many years in Saratoga County. I lived there. I moved over to Washington County last August. Prior to that, I lived in Saratoga County. And yesterday, we were all tied. Well, we'll get into the Whitehall Sasquatch Calling Festival, in a minute. But we had gotten out about, I'd say, contest was over with about 6:00, and it packed up. Got out of the site about 6:30, 6:40. Went over to our rail yard place for dinner. And we were there probably till about 8:00, 8:30. We were there about 8 till 8:00. Yeah. When we got back, we ended up going up to the mountain. We'll talk about that too.
I caught some of that dinner.
Yeah. Oh, well, I just had a couple of crab cakes and some onion rings. I didn't want to eat too heavy because I knew what, we were going to go up to the mountain and do a little fun. Right. And we'll talk about that too. But this morning I got up and there was an Amber Alert. And apparently this girl who just turned 9 years old was at Moreau State Park, which is in the very northern part of Saratoga County, was riding her bicycle. And she was taking the last loop by herself. She wanted to go one more time. Apparently new bike rider. And she never came back.
Oh my goodness.
And the parents went out to look for her, and they found her bicycle, but no Charlotte. And her name is Charlotte. Yeah, her name is Charlotte Senna, and she's actually from Greenfield, New York, which is part of the same town I lived in when I was over in Saratoga County.
Yeah.
And so the governor actually made a statement today, and yesterday they had over 100 law enforcement officials, rangers, NCON police, state police, local county sheriffs, dive teams. They had bloodhounds, and they couldn't find her. So that's leading to believe she had been abducted, but they have no idea by whom.
Right. Well, hopefully maybe somebody will have seen something, and say something.
Well, I hope so. I think as with any kind of investigation, there's always things they're not telling us. Right. So, and I have a good feeling why. And the Amber Alert came out this morning, and I think they finally said, well, we got to better put an Amber Alert because we have no idea who took her. And my prayers go out to her family, of course.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but as soon as a child is taken, if you don't locate that child within maybe the first hour, I think there needs to be an Amber Alert. Because that's
yeah. Well, I don't know how they put the Amber Alert out this morning, and I think that's because they searched just in case there was an offshoot. She may have gone into the lake, or she might have ventured out into the woods. But it made no sense, at least to her parents, I believe, that she was just taking a loop around the bike. She's supposed to come back in a few minutes, and after 15 minutes, we're like, where the hell is she? So they went and looked, and so horrible story. So
oh man, yeah. Not the kind of thing you want to hear,
No,
terrible.
No, not at all. But, after getting that out, so keep an eye out for any of our upstate New York viewers. Check out the Amber Alert. You can Google Amber Alert New York, and it's all over there. There's a picture of her actually from yesterday, from the day, what she was wearing. And please, if anybody knows anything, please reach out to the state police in Wilton, New York, who's leading the investigation. And, that's what we can do our part, is get that word out. Of course, anybody up and down the interstates of New York, Catskill regions, even the Hudson Valley, New York City, anything. If anybody's listening out there, just check it out. Keep an eye out for this girl, or, it'll show what she's wearing. She's wearing a Pokemon tie-dye t-shirt, dark pants, dark blue pants, and she was wearing black Crocs, and she had a bicycle helmet on as well. So, if anybody finds a bicycle helmet maybe on the side of the highway or anything like that, don't hesitate to call the New York State Police of Wilton, New York.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Give them a call, because that little bit, you see something, say something in this case, because if you see just that little bit, that can mean a lot. To hopefully getting Charlotte home safe. Yeah. So let's get the word out, folks, if you're in New York State or surrounding areas too. If you're in Vermont, or if because Vermont's really only about 20 miles to the east of us. Yeah. Massachusetts is about 40 miles southwest of us. Yeah. So we're kind of at that cusp. Anybody in Massachusetts, Vermont, take notice. Even Pennsylvania, in case we're talking now. It's been over 24 hours now. So it's actually approaching the 27-hour mark since he turned up missing.
Really important to get some sort of information now. Every minute that goes by is not any better.
Absolutely. So, yesterday, let's do our roll call for tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
man.
Yeah.
The chat is hopping. Look at that.
There it is, folks. Chris has just said it. The chat is hopping.
It is.
All right, here we go. First in tonight is Walter Kroll, a channel member. Hello, sir. Paul Daglian. Hello, Paul. Uncle Bones, too. Another one of our channel members, Low Rider. Low, how you doing, brother?
Love you, man.
Brian McMahon, how are you?
Brian, good to see you.
Joe Dryden is in the house. Sharon's in the house. Of course, our regular, with him and his meatloaf, Mick is in the house. Mick. Pat, another one of our members, saw him yesterday at the Sasquatch Calling Festival.
Oh, great, man.
What a great time it was. And you know what? Yeah. Before I go on, let me stop right there. Mike, our good friend, Tactical Bigfoot Research, Mike, was supposed to be there. He couldn't. And we want to send our condolences out to him. His mom passed away.
Oh, Mike, I'm so sorry.
On Friday evening, or Friday, evening.
Man, so, hang in there, Mike. Yeah.
So that's tough. And we're all thinking about you. And you know what, Mike? You weren't forgotten at the festival. Everybody was talking and saying how sad they were. So we're all, if you catch the replay, we're all thinking about you. We love you, brother. And we'll see you in a little bit.
Hang in there.
Take all the time you need. So, yeah, and Pat was there. And the funny thing is Pat actually helped fill in the gap a little bit. He was talking to me because I had some of the tracks out there, and he started helping me explain to some people because there were so many people there. I said, "Well, get into that." But there he is, Sasquatch Winners, Wizard Adirondacks. Hey, what's going on, John?
Good to see
you. I love to throw John I don't know if John would want if Sass Wizard Adirondacks wants to come on. But I can, if he just says in chat, I'll throw him a link to the show, get him to come on, and we can talk a little bit about last night if he's up to it. If not, I understand. I'm pretty beat. I'm sure he's pretty beat too. Grasshopper in the house. Hey, here's somebody new. Howler. Hello, Howler the Howler. Good to see you. Welcome. Oh, there is Mike.
Hey, Mike.
We're all thinking about you, brother. I didn't see you there. Again, we're all thinking about you. Little Gilroy is still here. Former Everything is in the house. Hello, Steve. Former Everything. Great first name, by the way. Bigfoot Society in the house.
Welcome. Good to see you.
And just as a note, he's been a member for 2 months now.
All right.
Sasquatch Wizard. Sasquatch Secrets, that I believe is Nikki. Hello, Nikki. Good to see you.
Yes, that's Nikki. Yeah. Good to see Nikki.
Angel Nolan in the house. Angel, hello.
Angel, welcome.
Going down. Pete H. There's another name we don't see too much. Pete, welcome, sir.
Hey, Pete.
Raptor Crazy in the house.
Raptor.
Good to see you, Raptor. Sharon in the house.
Sharon.
Here we are. There's somebody new, Mr. Max Cat 32. Good evening, all. Hello from Central Florida.
Mr. Max Cat. All right.
Welcome. Good to see so many new folks in the chat tonight. Oh, another one too. Rich Bonesmith. Hello, Rich. Good to see you here tonight. So that kind of wraps up our call down right now.
I think we got everybody.
If you
missed anybody, it ain't because we don't love you, because we love everybody.
So, yesterday, so let me explain. I apologize again for not being on last Sunday night. My back I threw my back out. Went to just a nice little birthday party during the afternoon. And I just stood up and like, oh,
yeah,
what happened there?
Yeah.
Justin Butler is in the house, as is John Ayers.
Justin and John, welcome.
Brian Barber as well. While we are, I think Brian Barber is one of our members. He's in the house too.
Brian? Yeah.
There he is. Yep.
Oh, more people keep filing in. Y'all come on in. Welcome. More room. Yep. Move towards the back. Come on.
Pardon me. Excuse me. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good to see everybody.
I mean, we don't have a spectacular show for you tonight, but we got some very interesting stuff. So, but anyhow,
spectacular.
That's right. Every show is spectacular. So yesterday, so I got up during this dinner party. My back was it was out. And even sitting was just horrible. I actually had to lay on the floor on my stomach just to kind of stretch it for the longest time. And I wouldn't have been able to sit for a little bit. So just so people know, I am now going back into my very early career. I'm going back into EMS. And my back was feeling pretty good Friday. And I had my physical agility test for the squad. And I had to lug a dummy around.
All right, yeah.
And I felt great afterwards. My back is all stretched out. Feels good. Next morning I got up. Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And I got a calling. I got to do all this stuff tomorrow. Oh. But we got through it. Back is starting to feel a little bit better again tonight. So it was kind of bad this morning, but I've been moving around today. I feel pretty good. So we'll see how I feel tomorrow. But anyway, I start my ambulance duty on Tuesday. So
all right.
So I'll be on day shift for the next week, and probably the cool thing about working EMS is that My job consists of working 3 12-hour shifts a week.
Yeah.
That's it. I get 4 other days off.
Oh, wow. Well, you can get lazy doing that, man. I mean, that's like over half your time is off, you know?
And Mike just told us that the Amber Alert is posted on MPA.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Very good. Very good.
But, man, I can feel for you about sometimes throwing your back out, you know? I've done that before, even just like coming out of the shower, toweling off, rubbing yourself with a towel, and you turn this way, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
what happened? You know.
Now people have been asking me, why did I get out of my loss prevention details and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And you know, I'll be very frank. It's because you know, over the last, I want to say decade, it's been slowly the diminishing of our authority to the point where now we're just standby watchers like the rest of everybody else. And I come from old school, man. We used to take those people down, cuff them and stuff them, and you know, send them to the cop shop.
Shoplifting has become encouraged in some areas of the country, and that's just beyond my ability to understand. I cannot comprehend how you would think it's okay for people to come in and steal from the store, you know, to the point where the store says, "Oh my God, we've lost so much money, we've got to close it down." You know, it's incredible.
Yeah. And a lot of folks are commenting right now about EMS, and thank you, Brian. Brian said, "Thank you for your service in EMS. Get all the respect from me. How they stay sane is unreal." Yeah, I mean, listen, I left, and again, we're gonna get off topic just for a little bit, please. So please indulge me. I left this field. Let me explain. I started as an investigator, and I always worked part-time as an investigator because, as you know, as you can tell by my shifts, even back then, you know, I had extra time, so we always took on extra jobs, and I stayed in the loss prevention game, and eventually I got into doing private investigation work, and that's how I became a private investigator. But back then, my kids were growing up, and I've been through a couple of things, so I left the industry, the EMS field, in '94, you know, because of blunt PTSD. You know, it's kind of funny because I talked to my ex-wife about that, and she understood. You know, she knew that that's what the reason why that fell apart was because of PTSD. And you know, she said, like, you know, I go, "Do you know when it happened?" She goes, "I can tell you exactly when it happened. It was that event, you know, on a certain day." And I go, "Yep, you're right, absolutely right." She goes, "I saw the change in you the next day." You know, so, but I will not go back there. I you know, you never get over PTSD, but you learn to deal with it in a constructive manner. And that, at least for me, I'm able to do that. So being over that, I'm going back in, and I'm a little more, I think, tougher, and I don't have little kids around me that much. You know, a very sensitive time of life. You know, you're seeing the growth of your children. Okay, so, you know, it's a very transitional time, and I was young, too. I mean, you got to think, I got into the ambulance when I was, oh, God, I was trying to think. I was 20, 21. So, you know, my first 5 years, you know, 20 to age 25, I was being subjected to all this traumatic stuff constantly. Yeah. But, you know, hey, we're good now. We're gonna hit it head on. So,
well, it's not like Steve Kulls, the investigator, is hanging up his hat. No, you're still doing your Kulls investigations. And
oh yeah. In fact, I'm working a couple of private cases now with myself too. And you know, I still work part-time for an investigation company. What I'm not doing anymore is the asset protection, loss prevention side of the job, at least for now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We can never know what's going to happen in the future, but at least for now, I think I wanted a job I can go to and go home and feel good about myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me.
That's important. You know, man needs to enjoy what he does. And, you know, unless, you know, well, I worked at a factory for a long time, years, and I didn't really enjoy that work. I did not. But, you know, I enjoyed the paycheck. I enjoyed that. So no matter what the stress was at work, I would
right.
I whistle a happy tune. You know?
Yep. Yeah, this is a job that I love. It's outside. It's different every day. It's exciting. It's challenging. It's, that's what I want. I need that. But anyway, let's get into the festival yesterday. It was phenomenal again. And, I remember it, and I've seen the progression of this going on for the last, I shouldn't have done that. I've seen the progression of this for the last few years. I think they brought it back in 2021, post the plague era. Absolutely, it was a good event. I think there was maybe 1,500 people, maybe 1,000 people there that first event. It was cool. It was like, all right, people are back. Last year it was even bigger, and this year it was off the roof. It was it's starting to get, when you go there and there's people from New Hampshire and people from Massachusetts, and there's a couple of people that came up, and I was talking to them actually at the restaurant, and they were like, "Oh, great job calling the contest. That was really a lot of fun." Yada yada. Yeah. Where are you guys from? Because they were waiting on a cab. Right. Where are you guys from? Oh, we're from Long Island. That's a 4.5 hour drive from where they are. I mean, so people are coming from everywhere. Yeah. I've seen a couple of Sarah DeRogi. She is a frequent flyer to the Chautauqua Lake Bigfoot Expo. Yeah. She came all the way from the other end of the state to come to this. So it was good to see this thing starting to draw, Bigfoot fans from all over the Northeast. Yeah. And
a lot of these events are getting a larger attendance. It seems like that last one you did the one you did in the
Hocking Hills. Yeah, the Hocking Hills, Logan, Ohio. Yeah, it was huge.
I could not believe that. And, you did your live stream, which was great. I loved that idea. A lot of other people made videos and put them on YouTube, and I watched a lot of them, and a lot of them had you in there. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to go up to this guy's table.
Yeah,
but when they would pan the camera around and show the crowd, it's like, what's going on, man? Are they having like an NFL game up there or what? But it was all Bigfoot.
Now let me throw some shout outs there to people that are in the chat. And as always, we extended the invite to our members, some of our members, to come if they want to come out and go to the mountain, they can. And 3 of our members, YouTube members, took advantage of that. One being Sasquatch Wizard Adirondacks, and he was up there, and he was out there, and it was good to meet him in person. Yeah, and awesome. He's welcome in my campsite every day. I got his info now, so. Very cool. We do something. he's getting the invite, because he's local, as far as, things are. He's maybe about 40 minutes away. Yeah.
Man, I wish I was closer. I was closer. I'd love to have went there.
And we'll talk about it. So, and then we had Jen and Finding the Trackway. Of course, they're Ohio bound, so I don't expect to see them necessarily today. And they came out with us yesterday, as well as Mike Lucci from Kark. He's been on the show, and Alex Petticock. Yeah. And Alex, Small Town Monsters. He came out with us too last night. So we had a great time. Very cool. And as always, it was so fun. And I think, it's kind of funny. Alex and I have been out in the woods now several times together. It's really fun. Yeah. So, he is a true trooper, man. He's like, he's all about it. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
And wait, thank you, sir. The honor was mine to have you there. So, understand that. And again, Jonathan, you are a welcome in my camp anytime. So, and if you want to come on the show and talk about your experiences tonight, let me know. I'll send you. I'll just. How do we do this? Are we friends on Facebook too? If we are, throw me a PM. I've
seen some guys that were streaming the show on YouTube could do put a link in the chat. Of course, that means anybody can click on it, I guess.
There's Patrick. Steve is a rock throw magnet.
If we had enough windows, we could just put everybody,
Okay, so
the Brady Bunch, the Bigfoot Bunch.
Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to get. We are friends on Facebook, correct? Sasquatch. We're going to get him on there. We'll talk about a little bit about what happened last night because, let me just double check. So, as usual, we're doing some
Yeah, and I do have a Facebook account, but I don't use it for anything, guys. So if you want to add me on there, that's fine. But normally, what I use Facebook for is I look on Marketplace and then I close it.
I don't think we're friends on Facebook, so I'm trying to figure out how to get him a link. Don't do so. You have an email. Okay, just developed Messenger. Okay, so let me see if I can find you on Messenger, because I remember that you just developed Messenger, and if it's is it the same handle, Sass? Okay, I'll try that. See if we can't find it here.
Finding the Trackway says I think we are live, but our cell signal is 1 bar.
Oh yeah. They in case they wanted to come on. Unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna. If you're on a phone, it really doesn't work too well on a phone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the delay is really for some reason. Technology hasn't caught up with everything that we want to do yet, but it's getting there. The old days, everybody had their telephone up to their ear.
There he is. I got him. Nope, I don't. That's a YouTube video. Okay, I'll take a look. See if we can't get him on, because really, I don't want to just speak for everybody. I want
yeah, it would be cool if we could get somebody on. That would be fun to talk about that event. I would love to have made it. I wish to. Made it to camp. Good deal.
I tell you what, John, why don't you PM me on Facebook real quick? That way I can find you, because there are 17 million Jonathan Raffertys. So yeah, throw me a PM. I got my my messenger up. So if you want to just get on there and there it is. I think. Nope. So my phone is ringing and I don't know where my phone is. Oh, there it is.
All right. But oh man, hope you get to feeling better soon.
Yeah.
Been cooped up for 2 weeks from surgery. Yeah, I really want to get out in the woods for deer up season. That's true.
Okay. Nikki threw it at me. Okay.
Thanks, Nikki.
So let me. Oh, unfortunately, it's not coming up on my messenger off my phone. It's not coming up on my Facebook. Well, maybe I can find it. Let's see. There it is. Okay, awesome. So we're gonna throw. And this is, like I said, this is the nice thing about this show. I love the spontaneity of the show. There we go. And there it is. Okay. So that should get him the link. And once he gets on, he gets on. But, yeah, so let's you know, if you think this is a small event, I'll get on to a couple of things. But anyway, this was the overall scene. And, you know, this is just one side of the festival. You can see tents going all the way down, and mine was right here.
Oh, cool.
Mine was right there, facing everybody out. So me, and then there was a food tent next to me.
Of course.
Of course.
I've noticed in a kind of like a little correlation here. Every time you see a food place, you look for Steve. He's not going to be far away from the food place. Like up there at Hocking Hills, it was that gyro place or gyro.
Hey, what's up, Jonathan?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
Good to see you, man.
Steve?
Good.
What's up, Chris?
Good to see you, bud.
Good to see you guys as well.
So long time no see.
Yeah, right on. I haven't slept much since then.
No. I didn't ask anybody because I figured everybody's going to be dog exhausted, and I saw you pop in, and even finding the trackways out there, but you know he's on the road, I think, still. So
a lot of people are probably on the way home, you know, after this one.
So
I believe they went over to near Joe's house and went out for a little bit longer. I do believe. Yeah.
Well, of course, Jen was Joe's co-host for a long time.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so What did you? This is the first time were you at this event, or were you at this event before?
I was there in 2020.
Okay. Yeah. It wasn't as big as it was this time, was it?
No, it was packed this weekend. I mean, I was surprised when I walked in there. The place was mobbed. Yeah.
And it's kind of become like this the event of the Northeast for Sasquatch, which is amazing.
I hear it from a lot of people that I wouldn't expect to hear it from if I mention it. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. So it's very popular.
Yeah. And I don't know if you caught the calling contest at all.
So I could hear it. I was just over from the stands, and I was talking with someone, but we were listening to it.
I think they could have heard us in Ohio.
Yes, there was some rather interesting, and some of them are really good.
Yeah.
And then there was some that were very interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. But just to show you the crowd in the stands. Now this will show you how big this event is. And this is just the folks that stayed for the calling contest. And it's just packed. And that you can't even really see the scope because that riser goes up on the right, that goes up to the top, and that was filled with people as well. So it was just an amazing event. And then we had if I was a food critic, I said my food would probably be a 3.5 out of 5 stars last night.
I was very pleased with my meal at the Railway.
Yes. Yep. Service was a little bit.
I think he was thrown off when we asked for separate checks.
Yeah.
Well, that's his job.
Yeah. But anyway, Pat Collins was there as well, and like I said, he jumped in and started helping me with the booth because he saw I was busy, so he wanted to keep people at the booth, and that was kind of cool. But then after dinner, and we had a great dinner, and I'm sorry it wasn't on your end. I just plopped down because I'm a lefty.
Oh, Jen wanted all good.
And we tried to that's why I swung by a little while later to chat with you guys for a little bit when I could. And actually the gentleman I was sitting next to me to my left, he's a local person too, very interested in the phenomena. And the woman across from me, she is a regular from the Chautauqua Lake Bigfoot Expo. And they're not having that this year. So it was kind of like surprised to see her, and she wanted to hang out with me and this other gentleman because, she knows me from the Chautauqua Lake. So she was like, oh, yeah. Because as you saw, the rail yard is the place to eat. Paul Bartholomew was there with his friends and family and stuff like that.
I did see Paul walking by, yeah.
So very, very busy. We had a great dinner. Alex, all the people that were going out with us that night were there, except, with the exception of this gentleman who's there. And I didn't invite him, but he didn't have anything to go with. And so he's like, no, I'll come next time. And hello, Wade. Good to see you, sir. Our good friend Wade Wood is in the house, another member of our.
Yeah.
Yep. And as there's also in that event, they have off-site parking, and they have a shuttle service. They have a van that takes people. They park their vehicles. They load them in the van. They take them to the festival, and the van returns. And when people want to leave, so really, I mean, just for a little town like that, they did do such a good job.
Yes, they did.
So we all head up to the mountain, and I didn't want to say much because I've been up there, and I know people have seen photos of that area in here, but I did, what did he say? Enchiladas for dinner. I swear.
Had its own Sasquatch calling contest this morning after the enchiladas last night. Oh, man. Killing me,
nice.
Man. Well, there was one call yesterday, and I'm a little hoarse today because you do so much talking after a while. But there was one, I remember some of the antics that I do on stage, and that's why I one of the reasons why I think they keep having me back is because I approach the whole thing with a good sense of humor to it. And you gotta
have fun, It's a fun event. It's meant to be some fun.
Yeah. And we there was one woman participant. She came up wearing this red, white, and blue cowboy hat, and she was getting ready to do her call. And she takes her hat and she throws it on the ground. And my first reaction was I took my hat off and threw it on the ground too. And everybody, the whole crowd just lit up. You know, I gave her the eye.
Let her rip.
So, and then there was one person that did one that was, I don't want to say, it sounded like a little, remember those bad novels from the, Bigfoot loves, something or other, those Bigfoot love stories. Remember those things that were they were graphic love novels involving Bigfoot. Well, there was somebody that did a call that sounded kind of the erotic Bigfoot. And I was like, and everybody was kind of like chuckling. And what was I going to do? I'm like, well, how do I explain this to the kids? I don't know. And so I step up to the mic and I'm going, sounds like that Squatch needs prune juice. And everybody just died laughing. Yeah. So, you try to throw in some humor with all the, and of course the kids are a little bit different. The kids, but there was one kid up there, he could challenge the adults, and he was all of about 4'8". And that kid just bellowed out, and it went on and on and on to the point where the crowd started cheering mid-war.
Yes, I remember that. That was a boy? That was a kid?
That was like a 10-year-old kid.
Wow, I thought for sure that was a full-grown man that had a huge set of lungs.
Yeah, and he ended up winning really the contest. He ended up winning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rightfully so. Yeah, that was a great call.
And I was like,
going on, Trackway.
And and Alex just slid in, and as he said, epic last night. That's was amazing. Just got home, rang. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. And it was an epic night last night, I think.
Yeah, it was. You asked me if I had audio. Well, today when I was breaking down camp, I threw the headphones on, listened to like the first hour and a half, and I'm sure myself or you could throw it on Audacity, but you can clearly hear we'll call them howls, some whoops in there.
Yep.
We had a very large bird that flew over the camp. Mike Lucy heard that as well. And actually that happened twice. And once you get the audio, there's actually a lot going on. I must have bookmarked 20 interesting sounds in the first hour and a half.
Yeah, if you want to send those over to me, we can get you back on. Absolutely. We can play them and we can talk about them. Maybe we can get Alex on it too as well for that.
So,
I know Alex is probably beat, so that's why I didn't ask him to come on.
Set the stage for us a little bit here, Steve. I mean, you guys had went out.
So let's set this up. So we leave the restaurant. We all pile into the Cumberland Farms, get our supplies for our extra beverages and stuff like that. And up we go to the mountain. And what was your and let me do this. What was your impression driving up there? Just your impression.
It was like we were a tactical SWAT team, and we come rolling up on that place like gears going on, clickety clackety bippity bam. We came in there. I don't know. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Everybody had their stuff together, and it was happened in a snap.
Yeah. So
we were on it.
So we get out there, and then I explained to everybody, and you got to see where my sightings were.
Yeah.
And, it's when you get there, it's pretty, you got to admit, it's pretty creepy.
It sure is. You're out in the middle of nowhere. That dirt road just went on and on and on and on. And I didn't know if we were going to land in the lake or, yeah.
The first time you go up there, and I remember the first time driving up there in 2000 to investigate a sighting report, the sighting report that brought me to that area. Okay. And that's where the late John Weitzel and his wife got off trail and they got screamed at. And so they decided we better get out. And the guy had been up there for years and never heard anything like that. And of course, he explained it. He was the first one ever to explain an audio to me because I could feel it reverberating in my chest. It was that loud.
Wow.
So we start to leave, and as we're leaving, I keep seeing this shadow, this large, tall shadow, like going from tree to tree to tree, and it's still screaming at us.
Oh, boy.
So eventually, after about a quarter of a mile, it stopped, and they just kept on going, and they got out of there. And he reported it, and he reported it. I think he reported it to the BFRO. No, at the time, I wasn't part of the BFRO. Nobody called him about it. And he reported it to me, which I had the Adirondack Research Organization at the time, and that's how that all started with me.
Interesting.
Very early on, I said, well, that is a kind of a territorial thing, because why would it want them out of there unless it was protecting something, obviously, and that's what primates do in their territory. They get very huffy and aggressive. That's an area that has always inspired me. And I talked about having that creeped out feeling. And the very first time I went up there, I got creeped out. Okay. But I kept going back and going back and going back, and that became a point. And then in 2003, another person had a sighting at the lower lots there from where we were down. And I don't know if you went down to the lower lots.
I didn't. I was at the first camp.
So you go down where that other vehicle was parked.
Mm-hmm.
There was a sighting there as well where a gentleman was sleeping there, which is not uncommon. People do that a lot. They go out, they go hiking. All right, I'm just going to knock off here and just enjoy the nice quiet. It's a very beautiful area, dead quiet. You can hear a pin drop most of the time. And what had happened was he woke up at some point in the night, had to use a tree. And he, like me on my second one, so he opened up the car door and it hit something. And he looks down and he sees this hairy thing blocking the door.
Holy mackerel.
He looks up and it's looking down at him.
Oh my good heart.
And once he
Holy cow.
That's a code brown right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Stinky situation happening real fast.
So once he looks up at it, it's looking down at him, and he just turns around and beats feet back into and he just kind of walks off into the woods.
That's wild.
And he wanted to remain anonymous. He wanted no notoriety. He didn't want to be on a podcast, nothing. He just wanted to report this. In fact, in 2003, there were hardly any podcasts anyway. I think the only one was with called Bigfoot Central with M.K. Davis and I think Don Monroe, and that was run on an internet station. And it was, that was really the only podcast going on at that time. It was still a few years off before podcasts started whirling up. So the guy wanted no notoriety. He just wanted to convey, hey, listen, I had this happen to me here.
Sure. Yeah.
There's another sighting. So that was always an area I kept hitting. And I really started hitting it hard in 2009, 2010, 2011. And starting in 2010, the weirdness really started. If you hadn't noticed, when I walked into the area, I automatically gave a few whoops.
Yes.
And the reason why I do that, that's what I did every year going up there.
Okay.
And I'm trying to build up familiarity, basically, like Jane Goodall did, saying, hey, it's me. You don't have to worry about me doing anything. I've been up here, 100 times. Now, I know over time, there may be a generational shift or different animals that, creatures that are in there, if, they are in there. And, but unbeknownst to me and talking, we had one of our Squatch Detective field team members, one of our longest running ones, Jim Lansing, who's been with me since 2012. He was holding down the site, and he says, "I'll get in there."
He was there for a few days, wasn't he?
He'd been up there for a few days.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah, so he drove up there. He said, I'm gonna pull on the Camp 8. I'll stay there, and that way I'll keep anybody out of there. So I'll claim it. That way you guys can pull in, you can have it. So we pull up, and he's sitting in his car, and he's like, well, I may have gotten a couple of, I may have gotten a couple in. No, you know what ends up, here's myself, Finding Trackway, Mike, Jen, Eric Carr, who's a a documentary maker who's been out with, he's making a documentary, who was out with Matt Larson from Central Florida Bigfoot as well. He was with us last night as well. And see, the thing is that you can't wake up in the morning expecting a Sasquatch to be there. What you have to do is wake up in the middle of the night, and then you'll find them watching you.
Yeah.
Because they're
You know, I was thinking about that this morning when I woke up, about them being in that car, and I was very eager to hear the news if they were, woken up over the night or had any other experiences.
Oh, and look, speaking of the devil, there's Jim L as well. He's got some audio as well. So yeah, I mean, it was bounding last night. But anyway, I digress.
I don't think I want to wake up in the middle of the night, with the urge to go use a tree and then find a Sasquatch staring at me, and probably won't have to go use the tree anymore.
Yep.
Well, Steve is right that, if you're out there by yourself, that's a whole nother story. With all the folks that we're out there with, there's, you just have that sense, like at least you have other human beings that can hear you screaming when they're running off with you. But if you're up there on that road or in the woods all by your lonesome, or getting out of your car at 4:30 in the morning to take a leak, I can imagine that's going to be a tough decision, or at least your gut's going to be tightened up really tight.
And like I said, in 2012, when I had that sighting, the juvenile sighting, when I got out of my tent to take a look, I've been up there so many times. I don't think nothing of it. I'm just going to get up, use a tree, get back in the tent, go back to bed. I don't think anything of it. And you could see I was very comfortable walking around there by myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not, I know if I went straight out into the wood line, I know where that leads to, and the winding and how to get back. So I was just like, I'm just going to keep walking around, looking, listening, and letting everybody else experience it, because I've experienced enough up there. So, and Pat says, I'd love to hear this video. I would love to hear it too. I can't wait. I did hear one of our guys, Adam, that was with Alex. He did play a little bit of the audio that they got last night. It was kind of funny because we were all in, again, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So excited. I want to get to the exciting stuff, but so I explained where my sightings were. We get into camp, we start, and then Adam decides to go out. I don't know who he was with that time, maybe Alex, and they start going out, and we're in the middle of the camp. And we hear a whoop, and we naturally assume that it was him. And then all of a sudden we heard a louder whoop. So I go, and then I see Alex, bucking up the road, and he was getting some stuff. So I go out to see what happened. He goes, "Did you hear that?" He goes, that we heard a whoop, so we whooped back. I go, "That first one wasn't you." No, the first one, the second one was us, which was the louder one, which makes more sense.
Yeah, you can hear that really good on the audio that I have. I listened to it 4 or 5 times, and it was almost hard to believe that it wasn't one of the other groups, because it is, it's not way off in the distance. It was much closer than some of the other calls.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We found out later that Camp 9 was occupied, but Camp 9's about a quarter of a mile away.
Okay.
Right. So you go down the hill, and then you have to traverse about another 50, 75 yards to get into that campsite. So Mike Lucci and I, we went down to kind of see if they were responsible for it. And when we pulled in, they were blasting music. You couldn't hear it where we were. You couldn't hear that music where we were.
Oh, okay.
But you could hear it clearly from the road where we were. So we're like, so we just hang out on a little bit, and then we could hear, and you could hear them, and they sounded intoxicated. It was a male and a female, because we heard the guy talking, we heard the girl talking, and we could hear some beer bottles clinking and clanking. Now, mind you, we're only 75 yards from this site, but the music is blaring. So I ask them, I go up back to the a little bit further away, so now maybe 80 yards away, and I say, "Hey guys, could you, let's recreate this, go back to where you were and whoop, to see in case we had sparked them to do it.
Right.
And when the guys whooped, it was like, whoop, you could hear it, but it was so faint. It was faint that they wouldn't have been able to hear with the volume of music that was going on there.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to hear that over all that loud music.
And so it wasn't them, and it wasn't them hearing us. So, all right. And when we kind of pinpointed where the sound came from, it didn't necessarily come from the direction of that campsite. It came from somewhere else. So
it's got to be one of the frustrating things about going out with multiple groups, because you always have this chance of cross communications where somebody's making a call and then the other group says, "Wait a minute, you guys hear that?"
But let's make it clear. Aside from us 11, there was only 2 other people in the whole area, and they had their music blaring, and they were, a quarter, maybe a little greater than a quarter of a mile away.
Right. They were probably thinking of other things other than Sasquatch research too.
I know that all through the evening, never once did I think that I heard loud music.
Right, you didn't. You could not hear that really until you got right up into the parking lot area. Yeah. But that music was so loud because literally I'm standing at the edge of the road, right at the trailhead to Camp 9, and you could hear the music, boom, boom, boom. It was hip hop music going on. It was loud.
Oh, wasn't Barry White or anything, right?
The low frequency sounds should show up on Audacity on the spectrogram. I would think so. Yeah. But my ears definitely did not hear that. Not the music.
So yeah, it was pretty amazing. Now, did we get any rock throwing or anything like that? No. And truthfully, all my times up there,
we did have something come out of a tree. It was a 50-50, and I said, well, it might have been a pine cone, but you pointed out that there wasn't any pine trees up there, but it could have been anything.
Yeah.
But something hit one of the vehicles.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like, boom, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
And that was in the one area that Mike and I did get hit with rocks years ago. I think it was 2017. But anyway, Eric said, Eric could barely hear the music, and he had headphones and listening to the. Mike, you take care, brother.
Take care, Mike.
Yeah, so I mean, we did all we could to say, hey, this could have been them, and if it could have been, I would have gone into the camp and probably said something. But at that point, when I heard the replay, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go back up in there. They seem to be having their own fun, so I don't want to walk in on anything. Let them have their privacy, because that's where they want to be.
Right on.
We didn't hear, we heard a guy and a girl clinking bottles, which could have been beer bottles. I'm like, oh, okay, they're having a good time. We'll leave them alone. I don't think they were thinking of Sasquatch. They certainly weren't Sasquatch researchers to even understand what a whoop was.
Just normal human activity down there.
That's it. Yeah,
I'm sure the Sasquatch are perfectly fine listening to that. It's normal.
Yep. And,
maybe they're dancing. Do the Sasquatch shuffle.
That might be part of their entertainment, watching people that go there and for romantic interludes,
Right on. Maybe they do get enjoyment out of that.
Yep.
Who knows?
And I know I don't know if there was any captures on FLIR that night with Alex, because I know Alex was saying they may have gotten something, but I'll leave that to him to figure that out. But yeah, we got some audio obviously coming from Jonathan and from Jim as well. So I think that's going to be awesome.
Good deal. Yeah.
My thing, and Jim Lansing had his FLIR with him. I think everybody had a FLIR. Because Jen had one, you had one, Bill had one, Alex had one, Adam had one. So we all had FLIR. The only ones that didn't, I think even Adam's girlfriend had a FLIR. The only one that didn't was Eric, who was documenting everything. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if he was filming. So hopefully that'll come out in his documentary, and that'll be awesome too.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, and like Bill says, he's had 2 recordings going.
Oh, good.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Trackway, you had one out by the truck on the tailgate too, right?
And the reason why Alex, it was kind of funny. I see Alex, moving fast because we can see his red light on, and all of a sudden I see him booking up the road. I'm like, and that was after those first two whoops. I'm like, something's going on. So I booked out to the road.
Yeah.
And I turn around and he hands me a radio. I said, I go, part of the French guys, I said, you know what, I'm an asshole. I forgot my radios today. Because, you're packing for the show. You're trying to remember everything. And like, I got halfway to Whitehall. I'm like, I didn't bring radios.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we won't need them. No,
Right.
We needed them. But that's okay. Alex had a couple. So we had at least one radio in the base camp and one. So yeah, unreal. And you know what? And like I told Eric the first time I was there, I said, because I heard some shuffling when I was there with Eric during the daytime, and there was nobody up there. It was after Labor Day, so it was nobody up there. It was about a month ago or so. And I heard some shuffling, and I'm like, I look at Eric, I go, that's interesting. I think this area is active again.
Yeah.
And we came back, and all of a sudden I'm hearing all this and all the stuff that's going on. I'm like, it's active again. And I can't explain it, but I went in there and got that, like, it feels different in here again. Like, it feels like it used to be, back in 2012, 2011, 2010, that it hasn't felt like in years. And that was in the middle of the day. Very unusual. Very unusual.
Yeah. Well, you're getting the time of year too. I mean, fall is here. It's coming. It's right around the next corner.
So here's a question. Raptor says, so you guys didn't put cameras up to watch the vehicles? No, not at all. I mean, you got to understand, this is not a full-blown expedition. This was, I didn't even necessarily have my cameras up. Besides, you would need IR cameras to put up there. You wouldn't see anything. Although the moonlight was pretty good last night. But,
yes, it was.
But you really would. So it wasn't like this is what my annual invite is like. Hey, afterwards we always go up to the. Exactly. We had people with cameras and thermals. Well, all of us were carrying thermals.
We were definitely covering the perimeter for sure.
And there's the man and member for 3 months, Mr. Don Fuller in the house.
Hello, Donald. How you doing,
Appreciate
buddy?
You.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's, and yet putting up static cameras that aren't IR. And listen, I don't have a ton of IRs. I have trail cameras.
Yeah.
But to put out, static IR cameras, that costs money and battery, and literally, like I said, this is my invitation. Let's just go out there, have a little fun. We'll we got our thermals, we have some audio recorders. Let's just see what's out there. Let's see if anything happens.
Yeah.
That's all this is. This isn't a full-blown, we're out here to get evidence. This was just like, hey, let's go out and have a nice experience. Let's have an experience and explain, hey, this is where my sighting areas were.
Right.
This is where this happened. This is where this happened.
It was a great time.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing that, I'd like, that's why I put it out to our channel members, is because I want to give you guys that experience of being where it was, at least knowing and seeing, and the personal connections I think we all get when we meet together in face to face. And I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I couldn't tell you how much I appreciate you bringing us up there. It was a great time and well worth going.
Well, you're going to be part of my posse now too. So wherever we go,
right on, brother,
you're there too. So, and you haven't even seen the Vermont side or the
right on
the other areas we have in Whitehall that we go to. But by far, the area we went to last night is the most productive I've found over the years. Just not the last few years. And part of that reason was, I think, when the plague hit, everybody was going up there.
Right. Yeah.
Because they had nothing better to do. Let's go to the woods. Let's go to the woods. And over the last few years, that started to diminish again.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I was up there mid-September and with Eric, and it was empty. But during the plague, you would go up there on a weekday in mid-September, and the place was packed.
Yeah,
Right.
nobody had anything to do but go out and get in the woods and take up camping. Yeah.
Right.
You know, Trackway had brought up that in the morning time at some point that he heard a tree fall. And I do believe that Trackway, and I think he confirmed that here, that he had 2 recorders, audio recorders off the back, one facing one way, one facing the other. And Mike Lucy, I do believe, probably he left his recorder out after they went to sleep. Yep. And I would imagine Alex probably did as well.
That's interesting. The tree fall deal, because on one hand you could look at it and you could say, well, that could be a natural occurrence, but
Don, I was in my research area one. Don, I was in my research area one. Just so you know.
On the other hand, though, the tree fall sound, when you hear that in the woods, it may not be natural occurrence, because there have been cases where trees have fallen when these creatures were in the area and other people were in the area, and they wanted the people evidently wanted the people out. So,
so my question is, and these are some of the questions that I have. Last night was a beautiful night because there was no wind. Sometimes that area can really have some good wind because it's elevated. Mm-hmm. Last night was one of the calmest nights
you could hear
I've seen in years up there. Right.
Yeah.
No wind at all. The recording should be nice and crisp. And you find those nights. Some nights you go up there and all night, all the time. So my question would be, you watched it fall. Wow. So if there was nothing pushing it over, we do have a lot of tree fall in there, and that's what ends up in the fire pits a lot of times.
Right. But what's nice about a tree that fell or watched fall is that data is very interesting in itself. As you analyze the data, listening to it on the spectrogram, you get a visual representation of what happened there. And then you can take that sound bite, save it. And then if you have a suspected tree fall where you think there was some funny business going on, you can compare the two and try to, say, does that sound the same? Is there anything that I can use from that tree fall that I know what happened and watched it, went over and looked how it fell, how it broke, what it landed into, how it snapped limbs when it went down? Little bits of pieces of information may help you analyze another encounter, or it may sit for 15 years and be worthless. But that's the way I look at it. Everything's value in audio. If there's absence of evidence, well, then at least you have that absence that you may be able to say, hey, look, I can explain this one.
Well,
so
a tree
aside.
Tree fall without there being any wind, to speak of present, is kind of odd. But it can happen.
Unless the tree is dying and it just
Yeah, but when you start getting multiple tree falls, one falls over here, then 75 or 100 yards away is another one. You're like, and there's no wind, something's going on.
Or if one falls and you hear something drag it away, well, might take a better look at that one.
I haven't had that happen up here. Like I said, you get a lot of the come and go type of activity there. Occasional rock throws. Like I said, 2013 was where the team went off, and I had a rock land in the middle of the camp there. And I've shown the actual rock on this podcast before. It's baseball sized, and it weighs about 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, and that sucker came from landed about 10 feet in front of us.
Kind of scary.
Yep. Well, it's part of I think it's part of their game. I gotta find it. It's somewhere. I just hope it's not lost because my backup drive pooped out. But somewhere I have the audio in 2010 where I left a recorder going while we exited the camp and went down and walked down towards the 9 and 10 parking lots, which are down at the bottom. Now, there was nobody in Camp 10 last night because there was only one car. So we can rule out that there was any campers over on the other side. Plus, we were listening. And but anyway, back in 2010, we decided to walk down to Camp 9 and 10, or that area, that parking lot area, that roadway area. And while we were doing that, in the time, you could hear us walking off. And then several minutes later, you hear something walk into the camp because you can hear it in the leaves, you know, very bipedal sounding. And you can get this on it, and then off it went.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I want to put up a comment here, Steve. That I've noticed here in the chat from Raptor Crazy. Says he's talking about to Alex there. Yeah, you need to be up in Washington, Oregon, and California, not in the central part of the U.S. A song about stories, no actual proof. Well, man, I tell you what, if you think they're only in the Pacific Northwest, I think you're mistaken, because I know there's some in Kentucky.
That's some pretty solid information there.
So yeah, they're all over, man. I mean, you know, I don't think we're going to find any in New York, in Central Park in New York City, but they're everywhere. They're not just in the Pacific Northwest.
And by the way, what we're doing tonight is not sharing stories. We're sharing our experiences.
Amen.
And we do have audio out there to prove it, that what we heard. Now, are we saying, are they Sasquatch? Well, we don't know, but it's a very interesting event night. It's an event. It's an area where there have been, and when I say it, it's anecdotal. When the witnesses say it, it's testimony. So understand that. But getting back to that, there is another announcement when I said about new leads. You know, one of the things I did yesterday was, you know, as I do with a lot of conferences, but since this is my hometown conference, basically, I decided to put some slips out there for people to contact me. So if somebody would come to me with a story, I would say, hey, can you do me a favor? I'd love to talk more about with you in this in depth, and hand them a slip, and they'd fill out their name and their phone number and their email if they have an email, because some people don't, or, you know, leave one or the other. Everybody left a phone number, which is very good. I have one guy who was in his 80s, and he has an experience from 1951.
That's cool.
Prior to Jerry Crew.
Yeah. Prior to Jerry Crew. Yeah. Prior to Patterson Gimlin. So I'm dying to talk to him. And I've also gotten a couple of other areas that may have some seasonal activity. So.
Very nice.
Yeah. So hopefully I would love to have the gentleman with the 1951 experience, but I will be definitely probably talking to him, hopefully filming him or recording him at some point to get his testimony out about what he had observed when he was 15
I'd love to
years
see
old.
an interview, on the channel, if you could do that.
That would be very
if he would agree to it.
Very important. Yeah.
Yep.
That's nice.
So the older stuff is worthy of paying attention to. I think, that's what originally had got me interested in it, was the story of my great uncle Robert.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And
that was from like the 1930s in Kentucky. So this is way before anything, was made public
before the media events. Yeah.
Right.
In 51, nobody was talking about Sasquatch in the news a lot, except maybe in British Columbia, Canada. Yeah. Here we are in New York State.
Right.
And, and that alludes to me too, is that the one area I go to, there's an area called the Gaelic Preserve. Well, the Gaelics owned a farm there, and they, in the mid 60s, they had some events occur too on their properties. And that was pre-Patterson Gimlin film. So I find those interesting as well. Maybe
absolutely.
Not so much, because it's like, hey, this is, because I think And I want to say this too, is that, for a lot of people, the modern era of Bigfoot researcher began in 58 with Jerry Crew.
Yeah.
To me, it began in 68 with Patterson Gimlin film. That's when it really started to pour on. Other than that, you had a handful of guys going out in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. After the Patterson Gimlin film, and then the Legend of Boggy Creek came out, everybody started coming out.
Right.
And I think that was a huge...
the early and mid 70s seemed to be, Hollywood seemed to be getting interested in Bigfoot, which they made movies, and that created more awareness. And then people's like, hey, I've heard that. Or hey, wait a minute, I've heard something like that.
And a lot of those events that occurred in Arkansas and Fouke, Arkansas, that they all occurred pre-Boggy Creek too. They were all from the 60s.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Pat. There it is. And that's one thing I do too. I appreciate that.
Oh yes.
And that's what I would do. I'd see a kid you want to, because they're interested in looking at it. You can see when they get their saucer eye. I go, do you want to take a picture holding the cast? Oh, let's do it. Come on.
Oh yeah.
And parents would pull their cameras out and they're like, oh, thank you so much.
They'll remember that forever.
All part of building that next generation up and building the excitement.
Right on.
And not necessarily even like I said, I don't want them to be absolute believers necessarily, but I want them to start getting the interest in it, because down the road, hopefully they will turn out and be skeptical and be analytical about the way things happen. Well, these calls. And one of the things I'm going to do too with these calls is I'm going to isolate. What I do is when I get them, I amplify them, and then I isolate them and I put them through BirdNet to rule out any known birds, stuff like that. Like I said, I did that with the Vermont audio where I had two separate sounds going back and forth. The howls could not be explained by anything, but the one that was returning from our side, we were on the Vermont side at that point in time, that was identified as a screech owl.
Yeah.
So we could just, take that one off the board, but we couldn't explain the howl.
Right.
That was going on. So that kind of helps weed out some of the wrong things. And we do this with our, I just don't do this with everybody else's evidence. I do this with my own.
It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of hard work to clear out all the knowns and clean things up and get to the meat and potatoes.
Oh, Brian popped up a good one. Yeah. Yeah, Brian's In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy probably spawned a lot as well. Yeah.
That was a very big awareness thing too. And that was in the mid 70s. I think 75 or 76, I think was when they started putting out the Bigfoot episodes there from my mind. And then of course you had, 75 or 76 with Steve Austin, Bigfoot, $6 Million Man, that kind of.
Yeah.
Right on.
Bionic Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My favorite movie in the whole world, that Sasquatch, The Legend of Bigfoot, came out, and that was a good one. And actually, I think that was on written off of Roger Patterson.
Hey, Alex, before you go, Alex, thanks for if you're catching the replay on this or you're not still not here, thanks for swinging by, brother. We'll have you on soon, and we'll get some more stuff out there.
It's great hanging with you, Alex. Take care, man. Get some rest.
And don't be perturbed by Raptor. We just
no. Raptor's fine. He's our resident skeptic, and that's fine. Hey, I'm one too.
You always got to have the pilot lit if you want some flame. There's the pilot.
We love you,
always
burning. Raptor. Well, always welcome. We love you. But you're not the only one. I'm a skeptic too.
He keeps it.
We're skeptical. We're skeptical.
Oh yeah.
We have to. I wouldn't even call myself a skeptic. I'm an investigator. I look at everything neutrally. Okay, here's this claim. We got to look at it. We got to research it and see what it is. Is it this or is it that? I think if you call yourself a skeptic, you're showing bias. So you're not really a skeptic. You're an investigator. You take a look at something and you analyze it, right? Or you're an analyst.
A true skeptic investigates. Okay, he does, get through the rigmarole of
skepticism is a
Well,
character
hold on.
trait of an investigator.
But
it's
skeptic,
a piece of the puzzle.
Right, but skeptic is a there we go. A skeptic also is a label. A skeptic means you don't believe.
Well, no.
So that's why
hardcore skeptic.
No, I know. I see where this is going. Yeah, that is what it has become, and somebody had coined a new term for it called skeptic, where skeptics actually believe their job is just to deny everything. If you say anything, well, I have this evidence of Bigfoot, most of them now will say, well, since there is no Bigfoot, it's impossible for you to have evidence of one, so you don't have evidence.
So yeah, you're not necessarily a skeptic, because a skeptic, and I'm not a skeptic. I research and I analyze and I investigate, and when I get my evidence, I rule out certain things. Because the definition of a skeptic is a person who is inclined to question or doubt accepted opinions. Right? So, if you're inclined to question or doubt, that's a label. I'm inclined to be skeptical, which means I'm prone to doubting stuff, but that doesn't mean I'm an absolute doubter or an absolute questioner.
There are skeptics out there like Ben Radford.
Right. But he's inclined to doubt, and he's inclined to let's face it, they attack, they claim that, Joe Nichols said, well, we just attack him from a different angle. And I was like, well, what angle is that? That's the same angle we all attack it from. Right. So I don't know.
The world is filled with just mean people that love to be mean to people, and just
Aren't
like they want to treat,
haters?
they want to treat everybody that has had a Bigfoot experience or a sighting or something. They want to treat them the same way that they did this old guy recently that described the sound of the F-35 crashing near his home. The guy in South Carolina. I don't know if you've seen that, but they put a video of him up making the noise of the thing of how it sounded when it crashed. And then, of course, that just went viral. And a lot of people's made fun of him, but hey, there has been songs made out of that and everything else. It's very funny. They did a rap song, or not a rap song. What was it? Some sort of musical compilation, and lots of songs and stuff has come out of it. But they want to treat everybody like, okay, well, there's the hillbilly, describe the sound of the tornado, when it tore up your house trailer, stuff like that. And I don't like that. I don't like, making fun of people.
Yeah, I'm not fond of making fun of
their
people
surroundings,
or anybody who does.
But
I always root for the underdog for some reason. Just comes natural.
there are people that enjoy, I guess their life is miserable. They enjoy taking down others rather than building everybody up.
Yeah, that's just.
I don't like that.
Nope.
Well, and Pat makes a comment, being a skeptic is to have a good filter. I think being a legitimate investigator is to have a good filter.
Well, I think being a good skeptic is to be an investigator.
I think a good filter makes a better skeptic.
Right.
They go together.
Because let's face it, there are people, the skeptics will say things that are borderline gaslighting sometimes.
Grabbing attention.
Yeah. Where they'll, by saying that, if I say, I was scared, and, if you deny that fact, you're gaslighting that person. You weren't scared. You were,
right.
There's different aspects of it, but I've seen, it's true too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we can't explain.
Yep.
And there's stuff that we can explain. And if you can explain the explainable, you're doing your duty. And last night, like I said, we had a lot of calls. We got to put those through some testing. We got to listen to them, and then we'll present them.
Do you want me to give that to you just raw, right? Just give it to you raw, or do you want me to put that on Audacity and just clean up some background noise?
If you just want to clip them, I'll do the rest of the cleanup work on them.
Copy that.
And that'll that way, you know, I know what filters I threw in there.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. It's a lot easier if you just take it right from the beginning.
Yeah, just a clip from you know, if you got a clip, you know, usually the way we used to analyze audio, at least in the paranormal side, was give me 30 seconds before, 30 seconds after, and clip it.
Okay.
And then just type an explanation. Hey, this occurred at, you know, and you get an explanation after that. You know, the call occurred, you know, at 35 seconds, and this occurred at such and such time.
Okay.
Or, you know, or such and such time mark in the overall audio, and then I can work with that, and that'll give me an ample description of what happened.
Pat's killing me over here. Pat Collins says, being a skeptic is wondering what threw a rock at you in the woods and hoping it wasn't a 1,200-pound hominid.
Truth there. Truth there. I mean, I don't know if you were around when we did that live stream from Lincoln Mountain in Saratoga County, New York, and that's where we caught the rock. Mike and I, we caught that rock throw, but we also had a tree knot too.
Yeah, I was in the chat when I was watching that live. I do believe that night. Yes, you guys had a action-packed night that night.
Well, you know, my skeptic side, I wish Bigfoot wasn't real. I wish it wasn't real, because I would have saved lots of time in my life.
And Pat makes a good point here. A good skeptic is open-minded, but open-minded is nothing more than willingness to consider new ideas.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with believing it. And I agree. When I, just because I believe in the existence of Sasquatch, because I've seen two, doesn't mean that, you know, we have a sighting. Okay. My inclination is to believe or accept it, but we're going to work as if we're on a clean slate. Is this a Bigfoot? Isn't it? Why these videos come out, and there's so many people that are believers. They're like, oh, that's a Bigfoot. And I'm the first one to go, no, let me look at this a little more in depth.
You got to start from the starting line every time with no bias.
And trust me, there have been times I have gone out in the woods and I've heard something and I've blown it off. And my second sighting, I almost blew off if it had, because it was like, no, I couldn't. And that's something an honest person does with themselves.
Yes.
It's like, no, I couldn't have just seen that. No.
Right.
No.
Oh, man.
You discount your You discount your own experience.
Yes. Right. And then you turn around and somebody's saying this is happening, and then this happened, and they find a track. It's like, now I'm just denying this happened afterwards. Why, if it happened beforehand, they say found a track and they found the log beforehand, and I get out of my tent, then now my mind's just playing tricks on me. But the fact is that my sighting happened before all these things were discovered. And it was like, I even said to everybody, I wasn't going to say anything, but I saw one. I believe I saw one last night. And that's how I put it. I believe I saw one last night because I was still trying to deny it at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to believe I had seen it a second time.
I know where you're coming from with that. I've not seen, I cannot positively say and confirm that I've seen a Sasquatch, but there are situations that have happened where there's other folks that have claimed that they've had an encounter and they speak about it. And when I listen to their details, I think to myself, well, if that's an encounter, then maybe I should go back and take a look at my evidence. But it's just not been powerful enough for me, so I'll wait for the sure thing.
Yeah.
But I don't speak of a lot of things, and I don't.
And there are people like you, and even finding the trackway, which you're keeping yourself close to the vest because you're trying. There's this internal thing going on to try to figure out what you're seeing, what you're hearing.
Yeah.
But again, Pat makes another great point. They're a good skeptic and bad skeptic. It's a people thing, all a people thing. And agreed.
Well,
agreed 100%.
Yeah. There's times, like after I'd had my sightings, it went back to earlier times. Like there were that explain unexplainable things that happened that we couldn't figure out. And one of those times was there was a group of us, like six guys, out hunting coyotes late at night, and we would go out in the dark. I'm talking midnight, 2:00 in the morning, and we would turn on the wounded rabbit call, and then the coyotes are considered pests around here. They kill cattle. They kill calves. Not
I've
cattle,
watched them on YouTube. They take them out with the thermal scopes.
And well, we didn't have anything that nice, but we would put a spotlight on them, and But anyway, one night, about 2:00 in the morning, we were all sitting over next to this fence line, which had trees in it, and there were some woods back there behind us, and we were playing these wounded rabbit calls and talking, just waiting for the things to come, the coyotes to come in, and all of a sudden we heard a big whoomp, like something struck the ground with a great force. I mean, it was like somebody dropped a boulder on the ground or something. Whoomp. And then everybody stopped talking, and we started looking at each other. What was that? I don't know. Everybody kept asking each other, what the hell was that? What was it? I don't know. So we left.
I'll be right back in a second.
Okay, Steve. 3:00 in the morning, we're standing in my front yard of my home. Everybody's done unloaded and unpacked their guns and stuff. We're standing in the front yard, and we're still trying to figure out what this was. And everybody is taking turns stomping the ground with their boot, trying to make that sound. Well, I can't do it. Can you make that sound? I don't know. They would try stomping their foot. No, it was louder than that. Everybody agreed. No, that's not it. It was louder than that. And so, so we were really puzzled. What could that have been? And now, now after that was way back. Now I'm starting to think that may have been Bigfoot related activity, because in that same area where we were hunting on the back end of the farm, there's been activity back there.
Okay.
And, I had found tracks since then, and that was right next to a tobacco patch where we used to grow tobacco here. And it was right next to that tobacco patch that we found that long trackway that went all the way across the patch.
Picking up more pieces to the puzzle.
Right, yeah. So
start seeing the bigger picture.
After the fact, yeah, all this other stuff comes later. But at first, that mystery was like, what made that sound?
Right on.
We couldn't figure it out. But now I'm leaning towards, I think that was creature related.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Something made that. And since then, and since Steve, I've been doing the show with Steve, I've got a chance to talk to other witnesses. And sometimes they would describe hearing something like a large ground impact, or maybe they theorized maybe it was a chest thump or something.
Okay.
And, I got to thinking about it. Could that have been something hitting a chest, to make that hollow thud? And yeah, it's possible. But yeah,
trying to think of what other animal the size of a purported Sasquatch that would hit something. I mean, buffaloes, they hit their horns. That's a different material, but relative size. Have you ever been around those two animals, or is there anybody that's ever spoke about what your body and your feet on the ground within 50 foot of two buffalo crashing into each other?
No.
Is that comparable? Like shake the ground? I haven't.
No, I've never heard. I mean, we did have some here locally in a park, but I've never heard them hit or anything. So I don't know what.
You watch the ones on National Geographic, like in slow motion, them rams. I mean, every bit of their flesh just ripples like a wave. That looks like a pretty good impact.
Well, this was a thud we couldn't explain, and this is a group of hunters. We're all gathering, and everybody we've heard a deer stomp the ground. If you're out at night, and you run up on a deer and they can't see you, or they think you're there, but they don't know. They'll stomp the ground with their hoof.
I just had a doe do that under the apple tree out here.
Yeah,
Friday.
But this was nothing like that. You know, everybody, we've all heard that before. Well, it wasn't a deer. You know, we did something big, and it was just, you know, a mystery that I think maybe has an explanation now. Maybe.
Now, let me throw this in there. Raptor made an interesting statement saying that I believe Bigfoot is real. Quit saying they're in an area year round, whether or not. Well, I've said for years that my areas are not populated during the winter months. Said it for years, and I have a good suspicion where they go. They go over to the Green Mountains, and that's why Whitehall is between the Adirondacks and the Green Mountains. And that's why they get their activity, because they're making their moves back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's not it's definitely not a year-round activity. Actually, this is the time of year, September, October, through mid-November, is where activity amps up. Right. At least that's what the historical records, show in my research areas. But you have to look at primate research, and primates will, if the area is right, they have enough seclusion, they have enough water, they have enough food, they will stay put. Right. They will stay put. Humans or primates become nomadic when there is a weather change. It's more advantageous to be in another area during a different seasonal month. But if things are adequate, they will stay put. That is primates. Same with us. Native Americans, right? Some Native Americans stayed put.
Yeah.
And strangely, the Native Americans in the northeastern United States stayed put because they learned how to combat the cold and the wind and stuff like that. The Native Americans in the Southwest had their summer homes and winter homes because the animals migrated, their food sources migrated to those areas during certain seasons.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I had noticed around here, especially at the old home place, Steve, there was always peaks of activity. Like it would be early spring and late fall. Those two times, the activity would peak. And, normally there was a creek that follows along the old home place there. And that was when we would hear activity or have activity from that area. And I always just assumed, okay, and maybe this is wrong to assume it, but I did back then. I assumed that maybe it had to do something with the migration. But now I don't know if Bigfoot migrate or not. But I do know that there was some correlation there between early spring and late fall activity peak for some reason. So they would move about through that area where they normally, we didn't have any idea they were.
Yeah.
I don't think they were living there constantly because as a kid, I hunt those areas every day.
I just want to throw this out there. We got a bunch of new names out there. I think we've seen Tombs before, or Hello Tombs, and we've got Stevie B. I think.
Hey, Stevie.
Stevie B's in the house.
Tombs, how you doing?
And the Dude Brothers. Hello, Dude Brothers. Good to see you.
Yeah.
So,
Brian,
see you guys.
Brian says they do disappear during rifle season from mid-November to mid-December when activity picks up back here. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true too. I think there's a lot of goes on when the deer hunters get out in the woods, and that's coming now. It's October here in Kentucky. Deer season, one or the other, will be opening up soon. Like I think it starts off with black powder. I'm not certain anymore. I don't deer hunt anymore. But,
it's usually early. The early seasons. If you didn't get one last year, you can get your tag to go out a little bit earlier than the regular early muzzle loader and bow.
But there will still be the odd report every now and then of a hunter witnessing something going to or from his stand, which most of the guys hunt.
There's a lot of hunters in the southern zone in them farm fields. And only a couple times that I've been down there hunting, I just could not believe sitting at the top of that field how many orange vests I was looking at that were
Right.
traversing the hedgerows, and the guys that I was with, they're just like laughing because I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is like a war out here. How come I don't have bulletproof vests on? And they're like, you just got to be real careful. And now getting into this subject, I have given it thought. Like, do they stay put down there when that hunting season's going on? There's guys everywhere. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I have no idea, but I have thought about that.
Yeah. But there are definite times of peak activity in certain areas. And, that's one of the things about doing the research. You write this stuff down. Then you look at it, you go back through. Well, there is the odd report of something happening during the summer around here, but usually not so much. There are people, I don't know if they go somewhere else or it's just because the underbrush is so thick now, all the green leaves and stuff comes in the summer that, I could walk 15 feet into the woods and just squat down and you'd never know I was there. So it may be a thing where they're not being seen,
Right on. What is that
There's somebody's dog whining. Is that
yeah,
Rufus or is that Watson?
That's Watson Rufus.
I thought somebody's belly was grumbling there for a second.
Well, you see, he had a little surgery last week.
Right
on. And he's a little angsty a bit because he's got a cone on his head.
Oh, man.
And he's been pretty
Poor
good.
Watson.
Poor guy. There he is. It'll be all right, buddy. That's so he doesn't chew on himself.
The cone of shame. Yeah.
Hang on, I'm going to get him something real quick and keep him quiet.
Yeah,
right
take care of my buddy. But Watson, I think he got he's not as manly as he used to be.
Oh boy, you got him cut off.
But at least Watson does a good job, and he behaves himself during the show. You hardly ever know he's there.
That's the first I've ever heard of him. Yeah,
my wife has a herd of Yorkies upstairs, and when they get started, man, it sounds like a dog mauling going on.
Right on.
Okay. Let's look over Raptor.
Raptor
Crazy says, I don't believe Bigfoot is in the eastern part of the United States, and I don't believe they're in the central part of the United States. I think they're all out west, in my opinion. Well, that's cruel. That's cool. I mean, you're welcome, Raptor, to your opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that means you're saying that I didn't see a Bigfoot here in Kentucky, and I've seen several. They are hairy peoples out there. I don't know what they are, but they're folks.
Hey, guess what, Raptor? Guess where the first Bigfoot was seen in the United States? Sackett's Harbor, New York. Reported in 1818. 1818. How about Powell, Vermont? 1879.
Those are in Paul Bartholomew's book, isn't it?
Yep.
I do believe I remember highlighting those. Yeah.
And I've actually found the actual articles too.
It's great. I mean, cool. Everybody has a different opinion, and that's cool. Raptor is fine. I don't agree with your opinion. And that's great. You don't agree with mine?
What's the basis of your opinion? What's the basis? What scientific basis is that opinion based on? That's all I have to ask is what scientific, because you know what? Animals migrated over, all creatures on this continent migrated over the Bering Strait. Why are there more sightings in the Pacific Northwest? Well, why was the Native American population more predominant in the Pacific Northwest out of anywhere else? Right?
Well, I think
primates migrate.
Right.
Animals migrate. And they populated, Homo sapiens migrated all over this country, all over this continent, regardless of the weather. 1904, Cohoes, New York, which is just a mere 35 miles from where I am, is where they uncovered a mastodont skeleton, 98% intact.
Wow.
And that's a mastodon, and it sits in the New York State Museum.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
So yeah, and actually, Jonathan, if you know where the mills are in Cohoes, the Harmony Mills section, that's where it was found.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Right by the, very within a mile of the falls.
Is it true that they're going to release prehistoric animals like that out in the tundra of Russia? What is that?
Who knows that?
The
woolly
mammoth?
Yeah. I mean, they have the capability of doing that now. They can take the the woolly mammoth DNA and basically impregnate an elephant.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a whole show right there.
Wow. What's going on, Matt from Central Florida Bigfoot? What's up, man?
Matt.
So I'm just trying to look something up, Chris, really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, that one, the mammoth DNA, that could make a whole show right there. That's something that I'm deeply interested in too, because I think that would be so cool to bring those.
So, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this real
quick. It would require a lot of selective breeding though, because they have to first, create it by using an elephant, and then they'd have to create several using different elephants, and then through a selective breeding program, kind of weed out the elephant gene to increase the mammoth gene.
Yeah, they use that CRISPR. I don't know. It's not my deck of cards there, but I think it's the CRISPR technology where they start messing with the DNA to come up with.
Yeah, it's really neat.
That's some crazy.
It's come a long ways too. It's almost like Jurassic Park in a way. A lot of the stuff that they're saying that that happened in Jurassic Park, that has come to pass. Like, wow.
I wonder if it takes a woolly mammoth the same amount of time from a calf to full grown as it does for our common.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Pete.
Pete, thanks.
Thank you, Pete, so much.
Because I was thinking if they wanted to raise them out there in the tundra.
I have to stop for 1 second. Okay. To be fair, there is zero evidence of Bigfoot in the eastern United States. Really? Really? So what evidence exists up there in the western part of the state, Pat? Go ahead. You made a statement that's ignorant. Ignorant. Because there have been the same stuff that goes on the West Coast that's on the East Coast. Tracks, audio, sightings, video. So you tell me. So if there's no Bigfoot, so let me say this to these guys. If you don't believe Bigfoot exists in the eastern part of the state, why the hell are you here? Why are you here?
Yeah, wow. I just looked it up, Jonathan. We were talking about the elephant. It takes an elephant 22 months to carry a calf.
Well, I was thinking that maybe for food purposes.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve.
Well, let me explain this. Pat says, well, the PG film is the best. Hey, listen, no film is ever going to prove it.
Nope.
No film will ever prove it.
Nope.
There's only one thing that'll prove it, physical evidence. Hey, tracks are physical evidence. And don't tell me that's not evidence, because it can be fake, so can a film.
Pete, thank you so much. Appreciate that super sticker.
Yeah. So don't get me started about there not being Bigfoot on the East Coast, because the sightings started on the East Coast. The sightings started on the East Coast. I mean, you have Samuel D. Champlain talking to the Gogoo, or talking to the Micmac Indians, who talked about the Gogoo, which meant hairy man-beast. How about the Iroquois, who talked about the Adenarhe, which means stonish giant? How about Rogers Rangers having to repel a volley of shot because a group of bears were throwing rocks at them?
Dang, those bears throwing rocks.
Hey, not the average bear.
Oh, real? Well, here's the funny thing. Stories are not evidence. Yes, actually, they are. They are. I mean, what evidence? Think about all of your history. What evidence do we have that the Peloponnesian War took place? What evidence do we have the Battle of Thermopylae occurred? What evidence do we have that I'm just trying to think of another good example.
Well, I wish that there were not any Bigfoot in Kentucky. I swear to God, I wish there were no
and
Bigfoot
thank
in
you,
Kentucky.
Pat. Stories can get you convicted in a court.
I wish there were no Bigfoot in Kentucky. That way I wouldn't have to worry about it. I wouldn't have to go research it, wouldn't have to check them out. I wish I hadn't seen what I saw. I wish.
Let me clarify something. Grasshopper said stories are subjective, including mine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All witnesses are subjective.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just something,
Okay, so you're again, Pat's going, no, not evidence with this subject. I'm just giving you real live examples how you said stories, because the only evidence we have of the Battle of Thermopylae, the only evidence we have of those battles that actually occurred are stories. Stories that have been passed down. Now,
I think what Pat's trying to say, Steve, is that unless we have evidence to prove that Bigfoot exists, we shouldn't be having a show. We shouldn't talk about Bigfoot unless we can prove that Bigfoot exists with biological evidence. Okay, well, that's one way of looking at it. But another way of looking at it is we don't do these shows to prove Bigfoot exists to everyone. We do these shows to talk about the evidence, and it's a place to support people and kind of like a fellowship. People to get together that's interested in the subject, wants to know what's going on.
Raptor, I understand. I understand why you may not think that, because the modern era of Bigfoot research started in the Pacific Northwest. But it had been going on here for years before the media blitz. Okay. I can document hundreds of articles. Well, about 100 articles. Let me put it that way. Of hairy man sightings, what they called hairy man. Well, it's a naked, reddish brown, fully covered in hair wild man seen by hunters. Bear men. It looked like a bear, but it stood upright and it ran after us and had hands. And stories of ape men. And these all come from Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, New York. They all existed before any of the sightings started happening or got talked about in the Northwest. Yes, there are a couple of ones from Oregon. And there's the report of Teddy Roosevelt in Montana hearing something, having an audible experience. Right. The Bauman story was a anecdotal story that Teddy Roosevelt had heard.
Yeah.
But he himself had encountered a vocalization.
Right. A terrible scream. I can't remember exactly how I described it in the book.
So if you want to understand the history of this thing, it started here on the East Coast. As soon as man could put pen to paper, it started being documented. Starting with Samuel D. Champlain, the Rogers Rangers account, and then the newspaper accounts starting in 1818 with Sackett's Harbor, New York. Now, some of them, there was a story of one called Old Slippery Skin that was in the Adirondacks.
Slippery Skin.
Turns out Slippery Skin was most likely a human being, right? Because it did not fit the conventional description of a Bigfoot. And when they eventually got him, they claimed to have found him dead, and he was a homeless whatever guy. Right, he was a African-American gentleman that
very good at robbing buildings, and they just couldn't catch him for a long time. They actually gave him a lot of respect. Am I thinking of the correct one, Steve? Or am I off kilter?
I'm sorry, I missed that question because I was reading the comment.
The guy was getting in trouble for robbing buildings and stuff.
Old slippery skin.
Yeah. Because he had rummaged through some camps or burglarizing.
He was a dark skinned fella. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what they described him as. Yep.
They finally got him.
Yep.
Well, one of the things when I kind of flip over to my skeptic side here, one of the things I think there's so many more reports, sighting reports in the Pacific Northwest too, are honest misidentifications with brown bears. I think where do brown bears live? Pacific Northwest. And I think we have a lot of people that honestly misidentify a brown bear as a Bigfoot.
That's a very fair statement.
It's not really, they didn't intend to, it could be an honest mistake. They saw something big and brown standing upright. And, if you looked at grizzly tracks, okay, well,
I would
track looks really good. Yeah.
I would, for Raptor and Pat, I would say to look up the Glens Falls Post-Star. The historian's name is Paul Rayno, Rayno, and he's the one who talks about some of these older Bigfoot sightings, these 1800 Bigfoot sightings that come from New York, Vermont, and the area. He was a town historian. So it wasn't even like he was looking for Bigfoot. He was not a Bigfoot enthusiast. He was not a Bigfoot believer, but he found this very fascinating that, wow, we have these stories of these wild men with hair-covered stuff. And then he looked into it more. And boy, isn't this strange how, Robert's Rangers talked about bears throwing rocks at them. Now, I will say this. Can that be a misidentification? Absolutely. It could have been some Native Americans wearing furs. Or it could have been some French wearing furs because they were fur traders back in that particular area. Mm-hmm. So let's just put that one aside. But you have the Micmac Indians legends. You have the Iroquois and the Iroquois Nation legends of the Adenarhe. And then you have these other stories like the 1879 Powell, Vermont wild man. And then you have other sightings up and down the East Coast. Yeah, they're stories, but you know what? So are they on the West Coast too. And tracks have been found here, just like on the West Coast, too. The only thing we haven't had on the West Coast, or the East Coast, is a Patterson-Gimlin film thing. Right? That's the only thing. That's the only thing to predicate your belief, then you are far mistaken because the media concentrated on the Pacific Northwest. But then all of a sudden you have Fouke, Arkansas. That's certainly not Northwest or out West. That's more to the east. Because think about it, there's Texas in the middle. Arkansas is on this side of Texas. Mm-hmm. So that would be more east. So, and there's people seeing these things. Now, I know people will say, oh, there's stories. Well, you know what? When you have so many people talking about stories and the same thing, there is a truth to it.
Yeah, it's stacking up, starting to tip the scales, that's for sure.
Well, I agree. I agree, Pat. There's nothing I disagree with that. Modern stories are just confirmation. It's a phenomenon. Exactly. But it's not concentrated. And understand that I'm very well educated on this. I am become a Bigfoot historian in all this. I have read a lot. And I speak little of it sometimes because I want to speak more of the modern stuff and what we're doing now. But I've got Sanderson's books. I got all the Four Horsemen's books. I've got books that are regional, and they go back. And the nice thing about that is if you ever read, what you need to read is The Historical Bigfoot by Chad Arment, a great book. And it has a lot of these old newspaper articles about Sasquatch. And where do a lot of them come from? The East Coast. And this is all pre-Jerry Crew. This is all pre-Bigfoot named. This is, and it's not even Sasquatch named. Remember, Sasquatch that name didn't come out till 1924.
Yeah.
When J.W. Burns mispronounced the Salish Indians' name for Sasquatch, which was Sasquatch. So he misinterpreted that, and he called it Sasquatch, and then Sasquatch came out.
Well,
okay, so My good friend says, you have also the Native American always saying that these creatures are not of this earth. How can you ignore that? Very simple. They've also said the eagles, the cats. I mean, you talk to all the ancients, they had spiritual meaning.
Yeah.
Right? Everything had spiritual meaning. The earth was a mother. It was a completely religious belief. And that's why they believed animals had different spirits. They said the eagles were of different, not of this world. And some tribes. In some tribes, they said wolves were not of this world. They were wise beings. And, look at Egypt, ancient Egypt, around the same time. Worship cats because they said cats were godlike. We know all of this is debunked, but there is a truth to the basis. These animals exist, just not necessarily because at that time, there wasn't such thing as science. It was just religion.
Yeah.
And that's
belief system
right.
can shape what you do and how you think.
Yep.
But a nice thing about the Native Americans, though, when they were like record, draw, or etch, whatever they want to do, they created their pictures of live, living animals. And so you would have your bear and your beaver. Then for some reason, there seems to be pictures of a big hairy man. Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. Pat, let me amend that statement you made. I agree with that, except the bottom line, there is no acceptable scientific evidence.
Yeah.
And as far as the understanding of this phenomenon, I believe there is. But science is to understand the world. That's true. Exactly. Bottom line, I think there is no acceptable evidence right now. And that is a fair statement. To say there's no evidence, scientific evidence, is a misnomer. Because they have accepted foot castings for other animals' existence. But they kind of ignore it here because it goes against their biases, their own convention biases. Mm-hmm. Just saying. And that's what I would say. High Five Chaser, I would just kind of Google it around Teddy Roosevelt's.
I think it's in the Wilderness Hunter. I think it's the name of the book.
Yeah, the Wilderness Hunter that explains his not only the Bauman account, but the other account. So anyway, people are probably wondering why this has been up for as long as it has been. Do you know why, Chris? This picture has been up there?
Yeah. I was wondering when you first put that up. I was like,
why?
Yeah.
Because
what's this about?
The proof is out there. Comes out Friday, October 6th, 10 p.m. Central, looks like. So that's 9 p.m. Eastern. Oh, a nice prime time area. 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
10 Central.
10 Eastern, 9 Central. Everybody in Kentucky? Well, no, not everybody. We got Eastern and Central. So
right. And that is going to be a Bigfoot episode featuring Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Cliff Barrickman, and myself.
Full disclosure, I did know I was going to be in that.
So
it's going to be good.
Yep. Well, that's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing, Quick Witty. You don't have cable. Network TV is dead. You can stream it. Because streaming is available the next day. So
there you go.
I'll probably have to see it on Saturday, I guess. Because we cut the cable a long time ago now. So
I do have some traditional cable channels, but I have a la carte. So I have it for the news, basically. But everything else I stream, including, the History Channel and all that, because I have streaming services that have those shows.
Sure. And there's also streaming services that offer live TV. So, why do you need cable anymore? We don't hear anyway. You might, you're right, but we don't need cable.
I remember when they were laying those fiber optic lines up Schroon River Road, and it was Time Warner Cable.
Yeah.
We were out there as kids asking them what they were doing. My dad was out there, and they showed us the end of the wire, and they were telling my father what they're going to be able to do. And my dad just was like, there's just no way.
Right. Yeah.
And between you, me, and the doorpost, I think they're gearing up for another show. Just saying.
Nice.
That would be good. Yeah, used to we had like well over $200 a month on the cable bills. Cable with the internet. Now we're like $75 a month or something. Plus, we do like $10, $15 a month for the HBO and stuff. I can't live without my HBO, my movie channel.
But you know, Pat, I'll say this. You want to talk about bias? Science accepted the castings of the billy ape in Africa. They figured they had something when they actually cast the feet of the billy ape. However, they won't accept casts of a Sasquatch. Why? Why the bias? That's like saying, well, we have, we've got this fur from this, and we believe this is a billy ape, and it's, to me, it's like we're going to rule out this evidence on argument, basically. Yeah. And that's a bias. And don't say that science is not biased, because science ruled out Galileo, they ruled out Copernicus, they ruled out Columbus, who said the world wasn't flat.
Yeah, but that gets into philosophy, Steve. I'm not really interested in philosophy.
That's not philosophy, really.
Why should we talk about Bigfoot? I don't really want to do that. Why should we talk about Bigfoot? Well, because I'm damn well interested in Bigfoot. Right. I've seen Bigfoot, and I want to talk about Bigfoot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, so Brian, thank you, Brian. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, sir. Anyway, folks, it's after 11 o'clock. We've run over, believe it or not.
Yay.
Oh, whoopsie. Well, it's been a while since we've been back on, so time has.
So, yeah.
I really appreciate you having me on, Steve, Chris. It's been great hanging out with you guys tonight.
It was great to
have you. I'm looking forward to watching the Proof is Out There. That's going to be a good show. Well worth the watch.
I hope my edits were good.
I'm sure it'll be a looker.
Yeah. And Mr. Federal said a great thing too. It's not a bias. It's they can't deal with it, so they walk away. And I know Mr. Federal is very blunt, and that's very true. I think too. That's part of it. I don't want to deal with this.
Ooh, the truth is brutal, but it's the truth. So
right on.
So, but anyway, thanks everybody. Before you go, thanks everybody for coming in.
Yeah.
Chris, do your thing before we go.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Jonathan, for coming on with us and talking about what time you spent with this dude. But we appreciate everybody.
Had a great time.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody that's watching the show tonight. And if it's your first time watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share it. Smash that thumbs up. Come on, do it now. Do it now. Smash that thumbs up. And that'll help us out with the algorithm and help get this out to more people, because we don't do like promotions and all that crap. No, this is all word of mouth. And, if you like what you see, subscribe. We appreciate you. And thanks again.
See you later, everybody.
And
see
folks,
you, chat.
So, folks, let me take you guys out. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. That's a great thing. Like Chris said, help smash that thumbs up helps us. The other thing too is if you want to, membership's a great thing. I'm going to start firing that up. Last week I was running around quite a bit between physicals and all that wonderful stuff. We're going to fire that back up this week. Maybe some in-house stuff. But anyway, while we're all talking about it, I want to wish everybody a happy week, good week, healthy week. Stay healthy. God bless. And of course, guys, what do I always say every week? Anybody?
Greatest audience in Bigfoot.
They are the greatest audience in Bigfoot. We love you guys. You guys are the faithful. So we'll talk to you all soon, guys. Love y'all. Have a great week and keep on squatching.
Hey folks, you've been watching Squatch-D TV. Join us each week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for the latest on the Bigfoot mystery. As always, we thank you for being our loyal viewers and encourage all to subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Steve Kulls. As always, have a great week. Stay safe. God bless and keep on squatching.